Welcome back to another edition of the Prospect Profile, a mini-series we do here within the Atlanta Braves franchise, where we go over top prospects from AA Mississippi up to AAA Gwinnett. Last time we were in AA Mississippi to go over outfield prospect Leon Fenn, and now this time we're going to be staying in AA Mississippi to go over starting pitcher Cyrus Hersh. According to MLB The Show, Cyrus Hersh is one of the few top 50 prospects in all of baseball that we have in our organization, and it's easy to see why, as he is already an A potential with a 70 overall. He's 21 years old, and Cyrus Hersh wasn't even our first-round pick in 2017. This guy was our third-round pick, so we had a pretty good year that year, or pretty good draft that year, I should say, as Hersh is A potential, already 70 overall, still in AA. He's been in AA for the past 2 seasons now, but we just have so many good pitching prospects that it's really scarce to call people up because we just have so many good pitching prospects, and even this guy, he might not even make it to the big leagues in this system because we have so many, but we'll get into that a bit later on. As far as what Cyrus Hersh throws, well, all his pitches have movement. He throws a running fastball, which usually sits around 96 miles an hour. He throws a changeup, which he doesn't really throw that often. It's probably his worst pitch, but he does have 4 pitches. I would say that's his 4th pitch. His curveball usually sits around 84. I saw it go up to about 86, but usually sits around 84. And then his slider usually sits at about 90 miles per hour, but I saw it reach even up to 92. So he's definitely got a pretty powerful slider, which is to be expected from a guy who has a 99 velocity rating. So if we do take a look at his attributes, like I said, 99 velocity, he's got 74 stamina, which is pretty standard for a starting pitcher. For whatever reason in this game, stamina does not get improved. So you'll have a guy being drafted who has, let's say you draft a starting pitcher and he's got 64 stamina. He might, and I mean very, very, very rarely, he might go up 1, but he might go down 1. So you could draft him as a 64 stamina. He might go up to 65, he might drop down to 63, but he's not going to really progress much from that 64 at all, really. For whatever reason, that's a thing in the show. I don't like it, but that's just how the show is. He is a 66 K per 9 rating, so even for a guy in AA, he's got a pretty decent K per 9. That will improve, though. Those are one of the stats that will definitely improve, and I think that's what I have him being trained with. Either that or his bullpen session, which would work on his control, which is definitely his worst stat, as that's something that I even noticed in-game. That could have just been me being rusty at the game, or the difficulty level taking over, or whatever it was. His control was just very noticeable in game. It could have been the fact that all his pitches had movement and I just wasn't used to that. Or I think it's more likely that his control just isn't that high, with a combination of probably I'm rusty at the game. But I definitely noticed that 49 control in game. I would be like, hey, this running fastball should go up and in. And I would just very, very ever so slightly miss the accuracy bar. And it's like, alright, you wanted it up and in fastball? Well, guess what? This is going right down the middle. Or I would be like, hey, let's do a slider trailing away from him. And then he's like, alright, you missed ever so slightly on that accuracy bar. Guess what? This slider is going up and in. And it's just like, what? How does that even make any sense? So that is something I noticed while pitching with him in-game. He also has a 64 break rating, which, I mean, isn't the best, it's not the worst, though. You would expect the guy who all his pitches have movement to have more than a 64 break, but it is what it is. And like I mentioned earlier, Cyrus Hersh is one of the many, many, many starting pitching prospects that we have on our system. Just off the top of my head, there's Aaron Blair, who's currently in the minor leagues. He's probably the first guy to get called up. There's Mark Appel, who we recently picked up. He's not really a prospect at this point. He's just kind of a depth guy. Glenn Sparkman is a depth guy. We've got Bruce Mesoraco, who was our first-round pick in 2017. Mike Soroka, who's already in AAA. Then there's Cyrus Hersh, which is him. We've got Petey Payton, who we did a prospect profile on. There's Colby Allard, who we also did. And then there's guys who we even haven't done prospect profiles on, who are also good pitchers, like Joey Wentz, Ian Anderson. There's Luis Gohara, who we did do a prospect profile. And these guys are all guys who at least have a B potential, so there's a lot of good starting pitching prospects that we have, and there's just no possible way that all these guys are going to make it to the major leagues. So some of these guys could be used as trade bait at the deadline. We'll see what happens. And not even just this season, but in future seasons, these guys could be used, because we can't trade everybody in one trade deadline. That'd be completely unrealistic, and I'm just not interested in doing that, even if it was realistic. So with that being said, that's going to wrap things up here for this edition of the Prospect Profile. Cyrus Hersh, right-handed pitcher in AA Mississippi. I've been your host, Jersey Born, and I'm saying goodbye.